Hey everyone, welcome to another BRAP. What a week. What a week, right? What a week. Hell has frozen over. Halo's on PlayStation. I don't even know. Yeah, I'm still processing this, by the way. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about Halo on PlayStation. It doesn't seem right. Like I don't know. I don't know what to say. Hero Down Under says, "Is this a great day?" I don't know. Maybe. Before we start the show, do me a quick favor. Do the YouTube thing. Hit the like button. I've dropped the link in the live chat. Let everyone know we're live. Please share that link. I don't. Yeah. I'm a little lost for words here. And I was when the news came out this afternoon that Halo was coming to Xbox or Xbox. Look at that. When Halo was coming to PlayStation and PlayStation 5 next year, I said the logic. I said, I knew this was coming. I knew this was going to happen, but I don't think I really appreciated the impact that this announcement would have on me. And I know some of you are wondering, well, why does it make you feel a certain way? So, you may have heard us talk about what's going on, Hood Rich. On this show, at least, you may have heard us discuss the importance of exclusives, right? Exclusivity, product differentiators in the market, the consumer psychology behind that, the impact of consumer psychology and their buying habits and how they assign value. I've said this before. People, I don't understand this. I saw it again today that people are arguing against exclusives as if exclusives have no value because Microsoft and Xbox told you they don't have any value. No, stop that. They don't have value for Microsoft or Xbox anymore. That is vastly different. Nintendo and PlayStation still value exclusives. They still value product differentiators, okay? So the people that are saying this understand that is Xbox saying they don't value those things. They're trying to change your mindset because it values them. It behooves them to do that. So you buy into their strategy. So you continue spending money in their ecosystem or in their very open ecosystem or their storefront, or they get you to continue spending in Game Pass. Flyload says, I need Game Logic take now. Game Logic's actually not able to join us tonight. He's actually doing a show tonight. So it's Microsoft. Microsoft is the only one that's saying that exclusives don't matter because exclusives don't matter to them anymore. All right. And if you don't believe me, look at today's announcement. They literally just announced 5 hours ago that they're the one franchise that is universally known that is known to be part of Xbox, exclusive to Xbox, is gone. It is no longer exclusive. Let that sink in for just a second. Halo, a cultural, a game that had cultural impact in the gaming industry, in gaming culture, in pop culture. Some of you newer gamers don't understand the impact that Halo had. I do. I was in my 20s when the original Xbox released 24 years ago. It was my early 20s. And what a time to be alive. And what was great about the announcement of the Xbox was that it came after Sega had bowed out of the console industry and went full third party. So Microsoft announces the Xbox. They parade The Rock out there. He's out there with Bill Gates. They announced the Xbox. The way they spoke about Xbox, Microsoft, Jay Allard and company, was that this was a true next generation piece of hardware. And you believed it when you looked at it, right? They were proud of the fact that it had an Intel processor. They were proud by the fact that it had a built-in hard drive, that it had an Ethernet port. And those are very forward-thinking things at the time. And for a lot of us who were gamers at that time, again, I'm in my I'm in my early 20s, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, like this is awesome. That's funny, Marsh. I'm thinking this is awesome. They talked about Xbox Live, kind of building off the foundation that Sega had laid down with their online service with the Dreamcast. But they were missing something. They were missing something. They were missing that killer app. And you used to listen to Ed Freeze at Xbox talk about that must-have killer app. They always talked about that. And the genius behind Xbox, too, is they actually went to developers. They built those relationships. They wanted to give developers the tools they needed to create games. At the core of Xbox, they knew, the Xbox leadership at that time knew that games were central to the success of that device. That must-have app would drive people to that platform, and they allowing them to sell hardware. And that's what they did. And then they just needed that killer app, right? They just needed that one thing they just needed, right? To get Xbox over the finish line. And that was Halo. And I remember the first time I saw Halo, my mouth dropped. I was blown away. What is this? And I remember Bungie at the time, they were discussing bump mapping, the different technologies offered to them by Xbox and that hardware. And they had you believing like you can't experience anything like Halo anywhere else. It was so unique. You had to have you had to have an you needed an Xbox. You had to have an Xbox because you needed to experience Halo. Because to that point, no one had really successfully released a first-person shooter on a game console. It was unheard of. Here comes Bungie, hold my beer, and they release Halo. And the rest is history. I'll never forget the day that I picked up my Xbox. I got home, unwrapped Halo, popped it in the disk drive, fired up my television, plugged in my Duke controller, which was a behemoth controller. And I'll never forget hearing the that was really off tune and probably didn't sound anything like the Halo music or theme song. But you get the point, I think. I'll never forget the first time I heard that. And just that audio cue alone, the music. Hearing that for the first time, I said to myself, holy shit, this is going to be a special game. It was, I'm sure you're probably thinking, Are you serious, Brap? Just listening to the music? Yes, yes. And I remember the loading screen popping up and had that these blue like dots. I don't even know how to describe them. I remember looking at the load. It just everything about Halo felt like it was. It felt like it had a high level of production value to it. So I'm firing up Halo for the first time. The music kicks on, and I'm just blown away just by the music alone. And then the game opens up, and it's a semi-open world. You hear Cortana, you hear Chief Cortana. And not only was it a visually impressive game, there was nothing that Sony had on Halo back then. PlayStation 2 had nothing on Halo. And let me tell you, we had that Xbox, right? We had the Xbox. A lot of us in the Xbox community, we had our chests puffed out. We were walking around, our friends, with a little bit of swagger because we had something that PlayStation didn't have, and that was Halo. And you want to know something else? We had the reviews. I was actually a community manager for the Xbox forums at GameSpot. And I believe is probably right before or maybe I was a forum. Actually, I say I was not a community manager. I was a forum moderator at GameSpot for the Xbox forum. So a lot of us were there, and I remember. So I think this was probably post launch of the original Xbox. And what was cool about the original Xbox, it for us it felt like a grassroots movement. Many of us were excited for Xbox Live. Many of us were trying to upgrade our internet connection to high speed internet, broadband internet, because you needed to have broadband in order to be an Xbox Live beta tester. A lot of us were just chomping at the bit, chomping at the opportunity to be an Xbox Live beta tester, right? And I remember signing up, sending out the email submittal to Microsoft to be a beta tester. And I wasn't selected the first round, but I was selected the second round to be a beta tester. And I'll never forget how disappointed I was that I wasn't selected first round. And then seeing some of my fellow community members on GameSpot, they were on there and they were just so happy and excited to be beta testing Xbox Live. But I'll get back to Xbox Live here in just a minute. So Halo literally is getting tens, like tens everywhere. 10, 10, 10, 10 review scores. Game of the year, game of the generation. 10, 10, 10, 10, more tens. 10s, 10, 10, 10s, more tens. Casuals who never played video games in their life were picking up Xbox for Halo, and they were giving it a 10. Here is this newcomer to the industry, Xbox, Microsoft. People laughed at Microsoft. They're not gonna pull this off. PlayStation is going to clean their clock, and so is Nintendo. Well, PlayStation 2 did clean their clock. But you know who didn't? Nintendo. The original Xbox. And if you don't believe that exclusives matter, I know some people say, oh, well, exclusives don't matter, Brap. That's the old way. It's not the old way. Because the two console platforms that are the most successful console platforms to date have one thing in common. They offer exclusive games, exclusive experiences that you cannot get on rival platforms. Xbox launches. No one thinks that Xbox is going to outsell the incumbent Nintendo. Nintendo releases the GameCube, which I owned a GameCube at the time as well. And Nintendo had established like it had brand equity, established franchises that sold in the millions and millions. The original Xbox outsold the GameCube. Think about that for a second. On the back of Halo. So Halo releases, and out of the release of Halo, Master Chief becomes the symbol of Xbox, right? Master Chief is now the equivalent of Mario to Nintendo. He was an iconic figure. Actually, I'm staring at I have a Master Chief, like little miniature statue that can hold a controller, and I'm staring at it right now. You know, and it's interesting. We talk about exclusives, and I said this earlier in the show. We talk about product differentiation, and I encourage anyone look up the consumer psychology behind exclusives and how they impact consumer buying habits, consumer loyalty. Consumers like to feel like the thing they've invested in has provided them value, and one way to do that is through exclusives. So when you buy something, and look, and consumers like having things that other people can't have. It's almost like a badge of honor. It makes exclusivity, a product differentiation, makes them feel like their purchase that their purchase was worth it. You go out and you spend your $500, and you get all these exclusives that you can't get anywhere else. You feel like, yeah, I made the right choice. I'm getting a nice ROI on my investment. Those things are real. And I think what I'm feeling and what I'm processing is that there's that emotional attachment. And it's gone now. It's gone. And I remember when Halo came out. I remember setting up the virtual LANs through GameSpy and Xbox Connect just so I could play Halo multiplayer online. Oh, and let me tell you, the lag was unbearable at times. But I remember setting up those virtual LANs on Xbox Connect, and you would go in the Xbox Connect chat rooms and you would say, Blood Gods 2 verse 2. You would advertise your room. And then you would pull whoever would reply to that into the room. And we could never do, I think, more than 2v2 on Blood Gulch. But Blood Gulch was like one of those maps that we liked playing, that and Hang 'em High. And it was such a unique experience, right? Like you weren't experiencing anything like that on PlayStation or Nintendo at the time. And so that experience really got a lot of us excited for the prospects of Xbox Live. Like, wow, can you imagine like if they stick the landing with Xbox Live, we're going to have the opportunity to have in-game voice chat and have dedicated servers that will to host the games that we're in, the games that we're playing in. Then we get the announcement of Halo 2. Many of you may remember Peter Moore lifting up his sleeve and showing the Halo 2 tattoo. Yeah, J Hart says 2 vs. 2, a blood gulch is hilarious. I know, right? It is, but I mean that's what we did. That's what we did. I mean, even 2v2 on Hang 'em High is kind of funny. No, it was Halo 2. They had tattoo. He may have done something for Halo 3, but Halo 2 was he actually got that tattooed. So I forgot what I was going to say here. So Halo 2 is announced, and we know what's coming with Halo 2. Halo 2 comes out. And I kid you not, to this day, I don't think I've ever witnessed a build up and anticipation for a launch of a game, a sequel to a game like Halo 2. To this day, 20, 21, 24, what? No. 21 years later. There was literally a line of people wrapped around a building, the shopping center where my local GameStop was, in anticipation of the release of Halo 2. And there was just buzz in the air. People were excited. And I got the special edition steel case book for Halo 2. And I remember going to GameStop. I remember all of us on Xbox Live. We all got together. Many of my and actually I kind of want to walk something back, or I meant to mention this earlier when I talked about the GameSpot forums. A lot of us in anticipation of Xbox Live were starting Xbox Live clans. And we did that because we were looking at playing competitive multiplayer shooters on Xbox Live. Some of those before the release of Halo 2 were Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Rainbow Six, Mech Assault, and we would do like ladder matches. There were a couple like Xbox centric websites at the time. I don't know if anyone remembers Team Xbox, but there were a couple. There were a couple other sites that had forums where the clans, Xbox Live clans, would get together, and it got a little competitive. Some infighting in the forums. I remember those days. But a lot of us, in anticipation of Xbox Live, we were already actually joining Xbox Live clans and had our own signatures attached to our profile in GameSpot. So you would see like what clan somebody belonged to. I remember big shout out to Lemieux66, who I met on Xbox Live, as an Xbox Live beta tester, who I still actually speak to him to this day. So I've known him for 24 years. OBM, One Bad Mother, who I've had on the show before. OBM, I met him on Xbox Live 20 something years ago. So it was kind of this grassroots movement. It's really like, it's crazy. It was like this badge of honor, right? And I'd gotten away from, at that point, I wouldn't say that I totally got away from PlayStation, because obviously Grand Theft Auto 3 was there, and there were Final Fantasy games, and there were other exclusives, third-party exclusives that were on Xbox that were only on PlayStation. So I still play PlayStation, but Xbox at that point had become my main platform. Now I'd switched over from PlayStation and had spent most of my time gaming on Xbox. So I'll never forget Halo 2 is getting ready to release. And I'll never forget that night. It was a midnight release, and we all of us sign on Xbox Live, and we say to each other, who's going to be on? I'll never forget. We're in a chat, and we're like, who's going to get on tonight? Oh, yeah, I'll be on. Go to the store, come rushing back home, fire up Halo 2. I don't even touch the campaign. I go right into multiplayer, like most of us did. We go right into multiplayer, and I remember everyone on my friends list was playing Halo 2, and I remember I think I got like 2 or 3 hours of sleep. I had to work the next morning. But it was just it was an exciting time to be a gamer, to be on Xbox. Let me grab this super chat here. Andy Hart with the $5 pound says exclusives were great on the 360. GTA 4 early DLC, Call of Duty maps. I really believe Don Matrix saw what was coming. Now Xbox is a rudderless ship. Thank you for that super chat, Andy. By the way, we have 57 people watching. Please do me a favor, hit that like button. Helps up the channel. Appreciate the support. We have 18 likes. Let's get those likes up. I feel like I should have started off this BRAP rant with story time with BRAP. So all of us get on so we all get on Xbox Live that night, and there's we're up to like, well past midnight playing Halo multiplayer. The next day I finally log on and start playing the campaign. And again, they hit it out of the park. They hit it out of the park. So Halo 2 was a running success. It solidified the franchise as one of the premier franchises in the gaming industry at that time. And born out of the success of Halo were games like ODST, which was another great game. Halo Reach, phenomenal game. Halo 3. Yeah, it just seems very surreal that that Halo is now on PlayStation. Like it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right at all. I was having the conversation with Logic today about how I was processing some of this. He said something to the effect, this is the nail in the coffin. And not in the sense that Xbox is going anywhere as a brand, at least not now. But in terms of the Xbox as we knew it, the console, that's done. And if you don't believe me, think about this for just a minute. They just put one of the industry's most iconic franchises that is so closely linked to the Xbox brand as an exclusive on PlayStation. That would be like Nintendo putting Mario on PlayStation. So I said this, if you've been listening to the show, we have been talking, we've had conversations about this for the last year or so. Looking at the financials, listening to the voice tracks, observing the behavior from Xbox leadership, the 4 games, the business meeting, the potential challenges posed by the acquisition of ABK to a business unit that, by most accounts, is underperforming, declining hardware. I mean, you don't believe me? Declining hardware. Look at the drop from the Xbox 360 generation, where they literally took it to Sony. They punched Sony right in the face. Sony was down for the count. They were on wobbly knees. It was not, they were on the ropes. Xbox was standing over PlayStation saying, what? Don't get up. Don't get up. So it's on BRAP the other day. Because I don't like this. I don't like the narrative that, and a lot of the Xbox pundits and a lot of the content creators, when you would criticize Xbox or provide some kind of analysis based on data trends, they would say you're hating. Oh, you're just hating. No, we're not hating. We just want better because we care about the brand. Because Xbox has set the bar high for us. And how do they do that? By delivering quality content. By releasing games that had cultural impact. Those things matter. Right? And so when you see a decline in quality, when you see inconsistent messaging, when you see them tripping up over themselves, when you see a consistent shift in strategy and voice track, yeah, you raise questions, especially when you've invested thousands of dollars into a product. It's in your own best interest to do that. That is being pro-consumer. The opposite of pro-consumer is anti-consumer. And if you're purposely misleading people as a content creator, if you're defending everything they do, then you're part of the problem. That's anti-consumer behavior. And I do think that's why the brand's in the state that it's in today, because a lot of people just accepted it, didn't question it, and just rolled over and just took whatever they gave them. I could tell you that a lot of us were Xbox Live beta testers, a lot of us who bought the first Xbox, a lot of the OGs, if you will, we held their feet to the fire. When Reckless came out in the Xbox and it was just a glorified tech demo, masked as a game, we called them out. Fly One says future of gaming. I could probably guess what you mean by that, future. Why don't you elaborate what that means, Fly One? Future of gaming. And if you don't believe that exclusives matter, why does Netflix have exclusives? Why does HBO Max have exclusives? Because those things are differentiators to the competitors, right? If everything's the same, what's the incentive? What's the incentive for consumers to invest and stick around? There's none. At that point, it becomes a commodity. I don't want gaming to become a commodity, because the only product differentiation when you have a commodity is price. And trust me, I lived through the Atari generation. You don't want that. Why does McDonald's have exclusives? Exactly. But a lot of us, I don't know about Hoodrich. I don't know about those steak nuggets. I saw there's an Arby's in the town I live in. I saw a sign for the steak nuggets, and I looked at them like, they look like turds. I'm just, Just saying. But a lot of the OG Xbox guys, right? We held their feet to the fire. We held them accountable, right? But there was never mixed messaging from them. It was games, 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 games. We're going to provide you great experiences you can't get anywhere else. And we were like, hell yeah. And they did. You don't believe me? Look up a game called Elder Scrolls, Morrowind, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Jet Set Radio Future, Halo, Ninja Gaiden, Mech Assault, Crimson Skies. There was Brute Force, which looked great when they first revealed it, but just fizzled out. Wasn't a good game. Look at the 360 generation. But Arby's owns them? I thought so. Hoodrich, I thought I didn't know that. I didn't know Arby's. He said Arby's low key has deep pockets. They own Dunkin' Donuts. I never knew that. Can't have it your way, Burger King. Huh, that's funny. One says, can you give the exact moment when Xbox starts failing? Yes. When they revealed the Xbox One. The problem with the reveal of the Xbox One is that the messaging wasn't central to gaming. It became when they revealed the Xbox One, it was, oh, we have Kinect. It's coming with Xbox. Oh, it's about your Xbox to be your cable box now. And you can watch TV. You can do all these things. And okay, where are the games? They focus more on the ancillary features of Xbox One than they did the actual gaming content. And it became, we're going to make studios to create movies and television content. That's where the first Halo TV show was announced, or a movie. I think it was a television show. Yes, Lost Planet. And then they just never rebounded. They never rebounded after that. And I actually thought the launch of the Xbox One was better than the launch of the Xbox Series consoles, because at least with the Xbox One launch, they actually had first party exclusives. Like how do you launch a title and this is the difference. So this is why a lot of the real Xbox fans were critical of Xbox. A lot of the real Xbox fans that actually care about Xbox, why a lot of us were critical of Xbox, is because of this. You launch the Series console without a first party game. You launched a piece of hardware where you said it eats monsters for breakfast, and there was no game. There was no killer app. Well, Ed Freeze used to talk about this, that killer app. There was no killer app that showed off the power of the Series X at launch. The OG Xbox had that killer app, had that game that showed you the power of Xbox. You know what it was called? Halo. And now they don't. Now that's not exclusive to the platform anymore. Yeah, I don't disagree here, Donna. There's no breakfast. So the real Xbox fans, it wasn't hate. It was out of love that we were accountable, or held them accountable. If you're a parent, you understand this concept of accountability and how that's out of love to your children when you hold them accountable for their actions. It was out of love, the love that they earn by earning our hard-earned dollars during the original Xbox and Xbox 360 generations, by providing us experiences that we couldn't get anywhere else from games like Halo that locked us in, that gave us that ROI. Andy Hart with a $5 pound. Thank you again, Andy. Says if Peter Moore was still at Xbox, it'd be a totally different story. Phil Spencer needs to go. I think Phil Spencer's gone at the end of the year. I think he's hanging up the cleats, as they say. He's done. So the real Xbox fans were the ones that were it wasn't hate. It wasn't hate. But the real Xbox fans had been around for 2 decades plus, had lived through the very high moments of Xbox and also the very lows. And so we could compare, right? We could compare the generations against each other. We could see what worked and what didn't work, or we had that perspective. We just didn't roll over and say, I'm going to give you $500 for a console, for a box that's advertised as eating monsters for breakfast. But you know what? Yeah, I'm okay if you don't give me a game that gives me some kind of ROI my investment, because you've given me something in Game Pass. And don't get me wrong, I'm subscribed to Game Pass right now, Game Pass PC. But see, with Xbox during the Xbox generation and the Xbox 360 generation, they were executing on multiple fronts. Xbox Live, the digital storefront during the 360 gen. They had Netflix as an exclusive during the 360 gen. But more importantly, they had games. So when you had all those great exclusives, right? And then you had all those other things that just the icing on the cake. That was peak Xbox. And so when a lot of us were being critical of Xbox, it wasn't born out of hate. It was out of love. Out of the enjoyment that we had with the brand based on their track record, their success during those 2 generations. Those are the real Xbox fans. Sam Walton says Microsoft has turned their most hardcore fans from console gamers to PC gamers all within 1 generation. Just crazy. Yeah. Because a lot of them have bought in and haven't challenged the messaging, the decision making at Xbox. And I don't understand why. And I'm not saying there's some people that are like, okay, you know what? I do want to try PC gaming. Nate Dogg says playing Outer Worlds 2 early. Xbox dropped another banger. Yeah, look, I'm excited to play Outer Worlds 2. Obsidian is by far the best studio acquisition that Microsoft has made, Xbox has made. They cared about console warring, they would have made ABK games exclusive, BRAP. They couldn't make it exclusive because they weren't selling consoles. They've lost market share. And they had a foot that $60 billion bill. That wasn't free money. They got to pay that back. Yes, Obsidian's they're definitely their best studio. So the real Xbox fans are the ones that are disappointed today by the announcement of Halo going to PlayStation. I saw Ryan McCaffrey's tweet earlier. I said to Ryan, I said, we've had Ryan McCaffrey on the show twice. And I said to Ryan, I said, it feels surreal. And I was watching the stream earlier today for the Halo event. And the community manager for Halo's there, and he's wearing a PlayStation T-shirt. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Like, I feel like that's kind of like just rubbing it in our face that that Halo's going no longer exclusive to Xbox. Let's go to PlayStation. Let me do something here real quick. Well, I'm really, I got to ask the chat here. I'm really interested to get your thoughts. Are any of you surprised by this? And how do you feel about Halo going to PlayStation? Yeah, Josh Ayer says Sony would never have a community manager wear an Xbox shirt. No, of course they wouldn't. Chris Salazar says Xbox is no longer a thing. Yeah, the Xbox console seems dead to me. This is the new Xbox. They're a if you didn't believe they're a third-party publisher before, I don't know what to tell you now. I don't know how to convince you otherwise. And I've been saying this for a year now that Xbox is a platform agnostic publisher. Yeah, arcade. Yeah. There had been discussions about this years ago. That's correct. And Phil had kind of more or less saved them or stopped them from that. Ghostface Killer says, not surprised, just disappointed Xbox was mismanaged enough to get to this point. Andy Hart, the $5 pound. Thank you for the super chats, Andy. I really appreciate that. BRAP off topic as a fellow Commanders fan. Is our season in toilet? Chiefs, Seahawks on the horizon, injured QB and bad defensive line. Yeah, I think we're gonna have problems this year. It doesn't look good. Our defensive line is just terrible. Look, I thought this might be a rough year for the Commanders because defenses have had a year now of film to prepare to study our offense and how to stop Jaden Daniels. Mango 256 says can't keep games off PlayStation. Those game studios won't survive on Xbox. Even though more will close, have to give them a chance. Tell you, this is still wild to me. I'm watching this video. And by the way, look at this. See the PlayStation logo here on the right? The PlayStation logo right here. This is on PlayStation's YouTube channel. I'm still in disbelief. By the way, though, I am excited for Halo Campaign Evolved, though. I thought the trailer looked really good. Let me go back. I want to go back to this. I want to watch the intro of the trailer again. Look at that. It looks great. I think it looks really good. I'm excited for it. And I'll be playing it on my PS5 Pro. Unless I upgrade my GPU next year, then I may end up playing it on PC. But I mean, look at this. I mean, the particle effects, reflections off the water. Yeah, what's going to happen with Halo Infinite now? It's interesting. There was I think there was a comment back in, what was a comment by Phil Spencer? There was this comment in 2011 by Phil Spencer, and this is my frustration with the Xbox GLT. Stop talking. Just stop. Just stop talking. It was always my biggest issue with Phil. Stop talking, because they end up they just always wind up stepping on the rake. Phil Spencer said this in 2011. If we lose our way with Halo, we lose our way with Xbox. 14 years later, here we are. It's like, and I get it, things change, but then he says that, and then 10 years later, Halo Infinite releases, and that was delayed because it wasn't it wasn't in a good state of affairs. And there was all the issues at 343i in development of that game. But I'll say this though, the game does look good. And I'm excited to play it again. It's very much like revisiting an old friend. Hello, old friend. Oh yeah, the Craig thing. That was bad. There's the original Halo. I mean, look at the difference. He's running on Unreal Engine 5. Look at the water there. But again, I mean, they're look at the particle effects. I'm excited. Outside of the fact that I'm still, processing the loss of Halo as an exclusive on Xbox, and that still just being like, it's still weird to say that Xbox is on PlayStation. But outside of that, watching this video, watching the gameplay, I'm excited. I'm going to buy this game. I think this game is going to sell very well on PlayStation. And it's interesting, the symbiotic relationship between Xbox and PlayStation now. I don't think Xbox can exist without PlayStation. And I only say that because you look at how well Xbox first-party games are selling, like Forza Horizon, how well those games are selling on PlayStation. Can you imagine if Halo Studios, if Microsoft releases a PlayStation 5 special edition Halo bundle, and they don't do the same for Xbox? Like, I could actually see them doing that. Look at the lighting there, the foliage, particle effects again. Oh, this looks great. Josh Ayers says Halo plates for PS5. Exactly. You know what? I would go out and buy. I would go buy Halo plates for PS5. Brian, he says Phil said it themselves. They couldn't out console Sony. Yeah, I look at that. That looks incredible. Oh yeah. And I'll say this. I mean, the one thing I'll say is that the game looks incredible, and I'm excited for that. But they moving forward, Halo will be on PlayStation. I tell you what I do want to see. I want to see ODST, a remake. I want to see a remake of. Oh my god, I might have to download this again on my PC. I'll reinstall it on my PC. Cortana. I need to reinstall Halo Reach. Reach is phenomenal. I honestly though, it would shock me. Let me know what you guys think in the live chat. Do you think that they're going to just given just the how big Halo is as a franchise, first time ever on PlayStation? Do you think that Microsoft or Xbox does something special for the release of Master Chief, the first Halo game, on the PlayStation? Do we get custom Halo plates, a custom Halo DualSense controller, an exclusive Halo campaign Evolve bundle? Yeah, Gears Reloaded did not do well. That's true, Cal. But I do think Halo's going to do better because it's Halo. Here down says, I'm going to buy the Starfield DualSense 2. I have the Starfield Xbox controller, one of my favorite controllers ever. Oh yeah, I mean, look, here down the whole thing's coming. The whole slate. I mean, it's coming. And you know what's interesting? People were firing up their PlayStation consoles, and Halo was already advertised on the dashboard. That's just wild. Look at that, seeing the PlayStation logo after Halo. This doesn't feel real. I'm pitching myself right now. It doesn't seem real. They did add they did actually. I was reading a little bit of Xbox Wire today. They did add the sprint feature in Halo 1 and Campaign Evolve. Sprint was not in the original Halo, came later on. But they also have because the Halo purists will be very upset by the idea of having sprint. But they did provide the option to turn it off. Yes, Josh here says sprint in hijacking. So now you'll be able to hijack Wraiths, Warthogs, other vehicles. Oh, did you see that? The PlayStation, I just missed that in the video here. The PlayStation DualSense controller there. By the way, Phil's saying 4 games in 2024. This thing's been in development for some time. Probably right around the time that he said only 4 games. And that's the part, again, the messaging. Just stop talking. Or if you're going to talk, just rip the Band-Aid off. Be upfront with your consumer base. Don't lie to us. Don't insult our intelligence, Phil. Be upfront. Be upfront with your messaging, what your strategy is. All right? Don't do this constant pivot, this back and forth. Look at the difference between Halo Campaign Evolved and the original Halo. I mean, look at that. Looks phenomenal. But this is what I'm saying. Like, just be honest. Because once you start, once you start eroding the trust of your consumers, that you've lost. They're not going to believe anything you say. They're going to defect. They're going to go elsewhere. Consumers don't like being lied to. And they're kind of doing it again. Frankly, I don't really put a lot of stock into what Sarah Bond has to say now, what Phil Spencer has to say, what Matt Booty, because of the constant pivot, the constant pivots from leadership there, from the, from that sleight of hand. I'm going to get into Matt Booty's comments here, Malai. I'm going to get into that in a second. Glacian says, "Why tell the truth now?" I think it's a fair point. Why? I guess why would you, right? I just don't put a lot of stock. Just at this point, be quiet, execute on your strategy, and just deliver good games at this. Just deliver good games. Deliver good games that PlayStation fans or PlayStation consumers are going to enjoy, and that your remaining consumers on the Xbox platform are going to enjoy, and those on PC. That's your focus. Continue putting quality content into Game Pass. We said this on Wednesday. I think this has been the best year for Game Pass 2025. Somebody earlier in the chat said they're playing Outer Worlds 2, and it's great. That's awesome. Think about this. 3 weeks we've had Outer Worlds 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, and we had Keeper. But in true Xbox fashion, all that gets overshadowed by this. By the news story of a 30%, a mandated 30% profit margin to the business, Xbox business. And this is kind of erodes the trust. It erodes the confidence that people might have in the brand when you see these stories and you hear about when you look back and you think about things that were said, at the business event, first today, or you think about, oh, there's the flood. I remember that. Love the flood. You think about the leak about hardware, and then you have these 3 great games that release, and it's like, this is what we're talking about. They just gotta stop. I think they could have avoided all this noise if they just would have been honest in 2024 and said, you know what, guys, we're going third party. We're going to be platform agnostic. We're still going to have Xbox hardware. We're bringing our games to PlayStation. I mean, the fact that Phil was always mealy mouth about it, and I believe he always hinted at it because he always talked about, tearing down that wall garden, and not wanting you to do that, not forcing consumers to do like slimy platform things, which Xbox kind of does with Game Pass, paywall and content behind the higher tier, charging you more. And then if you unsubscribe, vendor lock in. It's interesting. He talks about the wall garden, but then they wall you in Game Pass, because if you buy Game Pass Ultimate and you get day and date games, the minute that you let your subscription lapse, you don't have access to your games. Yeah, Josh, I think Moore's Law is dead. It said like what the next Xbox is going to be is essentially going to be a small form factor PC, and you're going to be playing PC versions of Xbox games. You're going to have the Xbox. You're going to have Xbox integration and overlay. I mean, it's just look at what they did with the ROG Ally X. I mean, that's essentially what the next Xbox hardware is going to be. And there's that rumor of they're going to oh wow, look at that. You see all that, the green Xbox. Oh, I'll never forget the green Xbox. The original clear green Xbox, Halo Xbox. But it's so crazy seeing that PlayStation logo at the end of the video. Like that just doesn't feel right. I'll tell you what, though, I'm going to play this game co-op with my son. I think that's really cool. I think he's going to enjoy it too. That's going to be cool to play that with him. Mark said Ryan McCaffrey said part of him died seeing PlayStation post this. Yeah, no, I replied to that tweet that Ryan put out. You got to remember Ryan started covering Xbox for the if any of y'all remember the original Xbox or the official Xbox magazine OXM, which I would subscribe to because you would get those demo discs. But yeah, but Moore's Law is dead. He had mentioned that that the new Xbox small form factor PC hybrid, whatever you want to call it, would probably retail from 800 to about 1,000. But I've heard it could be north of 1,000, about anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200. Well, again, look at the wow, look at that. Night and day. I tell you again, I know I've said this a million times already on the show, but it looks great. All right, I want to go to Matt Booty. Article in New York Times. This is, if you think about Mashable, the interview with Sarah Bond, now the New York Times article here that came out this afternoon at 4:25 p.m. by Zachary Small. Very deliberate. Microsoft is this is it. This is them finally tearing off the Band-Aid, which I thought they should have done a while ago. But even then, I don't. Matt Booty. I'll read a couple quotes from Matt Booty here in the article. One of the things he says is, "We're all seeking to meet people where they are." He then says, "When it comes to consoles, Xbox has always been the Xbox has always been the bridesmaid and never the bride." Oh no, that wasn't Booty. Okay. Joseph Van Drunen, a market analyst and professor at New York University, said Microsoft's newest console, the Xbox Series X and S, had been a commercial disappointment since releasing in 2020. Analysts estimate that it's sold at least 32 million units, compared to about 80 million units of PlayStation 5. Van Duren says, when it comes to consoles, Xbox has always been the bridesmaid and never the bride. I would say, except for one generation, the 360. They just haven't been able to outmaneuver PlayStation, Nintendo. They did 360 generation, outmaneuver PlayStation, and the OG Xbox generation, they outmaneuver Nintendo. Article says next year's remake titled Halo Campaign Evolve will be released for the Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. Surprised and no, I was really surprised. Let me know what you all think in the live chat. Were any of you surprised that there was no mention of Nintendo Switch 2? I was actually surprised by that. I thought maybe Halo would make its way to Nintendo, and maybe it still does at some point later on down the road. You know, maybe the focal point now is, okay, let's look at the PlayStation 5 right there. That is wild. See PlayStation 5 at Halo Studios. Salute Iman, the rich swag lord. Salute to you, sir. He says whole slate, baby. Yeah, that's a great point about Unreal Engine 5's real heavy engine. And so that's what I wonder if the Switch 2, I wonder if it's a matter of optimization, right? Can the Switch 2 handle it? Does it require more optimization? And if it does, that may not be the priority for them right now. The priority may be, okay, like, let's get this thing out on PlayStation 5, PC, Xbox Series consoles, and then we'll tackle Switch 2 later. Maybe that's what's happening, right? Go back to Matt Booty, and this is the issue I have with Matt Booty. This one comment here, this quote in the New York Times article: "Our biggest competition isn't another console. We are competing more and more with everything from TikTok to movies." Look, I understand. I understand that. I get that there are a lot of there's a lot of content in front of people, right? I understand the attention economy, but I do think that this is a bit of deflection from Xbox's own creative gaps, their ability to successfully execute on strategies, to release games that have cultural relevance in gaming, that are, like, as we say, the goaties, right? Like TikTok isn't competing for, you know, you know, consumers that are playing these black hole games and Call of Duty and Fortnite per se. And I would say TikTok isn't like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're like, you can play like smaller games, I think, on TikTok. And I have to go back and look at this. But it's like, why? Like, just talk about like what you're trying to do. And again, I get the attention economy, but it almost feels like they're blaming the attention economy. Movies, really? Movies are different form of entertainment. They're not interactive entertainment. How are you competing against movies? It's not interact. I get. He's trying to say the attention economy, TikTok is taken away from gaming. I get that. But then, Matt Booty, if we look at Gen Alpha, Gen Z, if you look at the ESA survey, right, that we shared here a couple weeks ago, and that was there was another similar survey by another analytics firm that Logic had brought up that we had discussed. But if you look at um, the platforms where Gen Z, Gen Alpha are spending in terms of gaming, they're spending most of their time, or they're actually spending more time on video game consoles than Generation X and millennials. And that is the TikTok generation. And I got to imagine too that if you're really involved in TikTok, you're probably not playing video games. That's probably not where you're going for entertainment. And I'm not saying that there isn't some overlap. There probably is. It's never net zero, as we say here on the show. But I don't understand why he's bringing this up. I'm like, Booty, just stop. Our biggest competition is another console. No, actually, it is. You're still. I mean, PlayStation still, like, well, not anymore. PlayStation, Nintendo are competitors of yours. You're in the interactive entertainment medium of gaming. TikTok is not. Movies are not. Booty say he Boosie Booty Boosie. Booty also said consumers no longer have a strong attachment to the actual devices they used to play games. Um, I mean, I haven't seen any data that suggests that. I'd have to pull the thread on that a little bit more. If anyone has any data that they've come across that supports that, I'd be interested in seeing that. And I'll just go back to the ESA survey where we see that Gen Alpha and Gen Z are playing video games on much on consoles and PC more than they are millennials and Gen X. I think what Booty should be saying is that consumers no longer have a strong attachment to Xbox devices to play games. And I say that because if you look at the decline of market share from Xbox versus PlayStation and Nintendo, Nintendo Switch 2 is outselling the Switch right now. Matt Piscatella recently of Circana said that the PlayStation 5 is ahead of the PlayStation 4 by 4-6% within the very same timeline of the generation. So PlayStation 5 in the US again is outpacing PlayStation 4. Now globally it is behind about 3 million units. Oh, Mario Heat, we're not going to talk about that. Shout out to Colin who ran circles around him. That was just oof. I've never heard of that guy before, but that was something else. Like, and I don't think gamers are asking Xbox to beat movies or TikTok. I think gamers just want good experiences, platform defining experiences. I don't think that's changed. Like, I don't think that when Xbox initially started, they were chasing like cultural relevance, right? I think what they were doing was leading with just creating good games that brought people to the platform. I mean, that's what Nintendo and PlayStation still do. I just feel like this example, right? This New York Times article with Matt Booty. I think this is them. I think this is part of the problem again with their messaging. I mean, you remember at first, Phil Spencer said, "Well, our competitors aren't PlayStation, Nintendo. It's Amazon and Google." Okay, well now it's movies and TikTok. Next week, is it going to be Facebook and X? And yet, despite saying all this, like Matt Booty, like between April and July, six of the top 10 best-selling games on PlayStation consoles were Microsoft properties. I mean, is TikTok not affecting? If TikTok and movies are the, are the biggest competitors in the console space, wouldn't that hold true for Nintendo and PlayStation? This is the issue I have with them again. The messaging. I remember when Ed Freeze and even Donnie D to a point, Robbie Bach, Peter Moore, they come out and say it was always about games, right? Interactive entertainment. It's video games, right? That's it. Video games. Yeah, Valnor, he did challenge you. That was actually kind of funny. So I don't, and I feel like when Matt Booty is saying this, it to me it comes across as almost damage control and trying to manipulate people into thinking that consoles are the problem, right? That they can't that somehow Microsoft is addressing this rising tide of of competition from TikTok and movies, right? And that they are ahead of the game and this is the future. I'm like, no, Matt. This is almost what they do all the time. Right? They identify an issue that probably really is an issue and they say, "Oh, well this is an issue." Like Phil Spencer said, Amazon and Google are competitors, not PlayStation, Nintendo. But now again, it's TikTok and movies. Well, Matt, movies have been around. Movies were around before the dawn of Xbox and video game consoles. What's changed? Netflix? Yeah, maybe having access to more movies. Netflix. I don't know. It just it almost seems like they are passing the buck, right? They're passing the buck of not executing on previous strategies because of TikTok and movies. Like there's no accountability. It's you know what? It's hey, we're not other consoles aren't are competitors. It's TikTok and movies. Like what? And again, we do see that we do see that oh, this is interesting, Sam. Sam, great question, Sam. Sam Wall says, so do you think they just stick with the big money makers now? COD, Candy Crush, Minecraft. I think that's the direction they're heading now. We talked about this on BRAP on Wednesday night. We had Infinite Umber on. Great conversation with Umber, by the way, around Keeper, which is the new game from Double Fine that released 2 weeks ago now. I think it was 2 weeks. And definitely check out that show. I mean, we got Umbra has completed the game, and he gave us his thoughts, his perspective on Keeper, and it was just a great conversation. Great conversation. But one of the things we discussed on Wednesday show, and I think you were in the live in the chat too, Sam, is that I think that they are going to solely focus on their moneymakers. Hey, look, you look at like moneymakers, right? Like Halo is a moneymaker for them. Halo is a recognized, proven IP. And I could see them going back to the treasure chest of valuable IP they may own and doing more remakes. I think we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see a few more remakes of Halo. Hopefully we get a new Halo game, but I don't know. We're getting the Gears origin story, but I think they're going to go back and revisit some more popular IPs, and I think that's going to be the focus. I think we're going to see more studio closures, consolidation of studios at Microsoft, and I say that in part too because that 30% profit margin. We said this yesterday on the BRAP rant with Logic. Like one of the ways to quickly increase those margins is to downsize your headcount, to let go of people, to close, to lower your operational costs, your overhead, right? That's the other thing people don't realize. Like there's a human capital cost, right? In running a studio, you got to pay salaries, you have to pay benefits, right? You've got to pay contractors. You've got to pay the rent, the commercial space that you're leasing out. And one way to do that, to reduce those costs that boost up your profit margins, those things eat into your profitability, is to consolidate, to let people go, to close studios. So I think that's going to happen. Sam. I think they're going to really focus on their big titles, and I think that is going to be. Logic and I were having this conversation today. He thinks that um, that Microsoft or Xbox is now going to be associated with these large IPs, right? They're going to be like if you like almost like he said, almost like Blizzard, with Blizzard being synonymous with World of Warcraft, Diablo, right? That Xbox is now going to be synonymous with these big titles like Call of Duty, Candy Crush, right? Like I think that's the direction that they're heading now, because that is probably the safest bet for them. They know they clearly understand the value of those IPs and the money they generate, right? And so that is the direction I think they're headed now, where they're going to primarily leverage those IPs because they're money makers for them. They're guaranteed money makers for them. And I don't think they're going to make first party hardware. I keep hearing that. Hardware's going to be like a boutique business for them. Very expensive. I mean, Sarah Bond's letting you guys know this is going to be expensive. This is not going to be. There's not going to be an Xbox Series S. There's not going to be a Series X. There's just going to be one model that's going to be very expensive. And if you want it, hey, we'll sell it to you. If you don't, go buy our games on PlayStation. And again, the play anywhere thing. I don't have a lot of. I don't think I don't have a lot of faith that that's going to take off the way some of the Xbox pundits and influencers are suggesting it's going to take. You remember Smart Buy, that really didn't take off. I mean, Play Anywhere is just taking your Xbox first party games and playing them on any device. Okay, that's yeah. Um, kind of do that now. um, you can do that with Steam. And the only thing Steam doesn't have is a console, although there's that rumor that they're going to give another shot to Steam Deck. But I mean, but if you want to take your Steam games on the fly, you can do that. You can cloud stream PlayStation games on PC. Apparently, PlayStation is with the PlayStation 6 is working on a PlayStation handheld device. Cataloging all your games on PC, no matter the storefront that you bought that game on the Xbox app, that's not necessarily new either. You can, if you own an NVIDIA GPU, you have the NVIDIA app, you can launch all your games that are installed on your PC through the NVIDIA app. You don't have to go through Steam or the Epic Store to do that. It's all cataloged right there. And you can optimize the games in the Steam app, or not the Steam app, the NVIDIA app, and then launch those games from there. Like I don't think this is some revolutionary idea they're presenting. There are flavors of that exist on PC. And Xbox is very much PC now. The console's done. There's no more console. Here, Donner, you said Nintendo versus PlayStation. I think when Nintendo and PlayStation, they go after different markets. Nate Duck says, I think Magnus is first party. Maybe. But I think with the 30% profit margin, Do they really want to roll the dice on first party hardware? Or is the ROG Ally X, which is a third party device, the preview of what you could expect? I think it's the latter. I mean, let me ask the chat a question here. Do we all agree that the next Xbox hardware is essentially a PC? Boom. Lotus Esprit just gifted 5 Basement Radio Arcade memberships, BRAP memberships. Lotus, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Yeah, Hero Down Under got the membership. Josh Ayers got a membership. So Josh says, yeah, PC OEM, in my opinion. I think that's the play. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, by the way. Actually, I would be interested in depending on the price point, right? You know, if I don't feel like spending $2,000 on a new PC build, because I sit in that 70 series space. That's where I sit. You know, I had the 2070, upgraded to 3070. You know, so I'd be looking at like a 6070, right? Here Downer says it's PC with Xbox Big Picture mode. Exactly. I mean, Steam does that. Yeah, I agree, Josh. I think that's the best move for them. Lotus says just got the Logitech G Cloud and I love it. PlayStation, Xbox games work. That's awesome. So I think that I do think that I actually a pre-built PC. Yes, Fresh. I think so too. But I depending on the price point, the specs and performance, like this would be something I might consider. I tell you what, it better come with some RGBs though. It's got to come with RGBs or some kind of like green, like lighting, like some kind of like lighting on the side or something cool. Maybe like some like LED strip across the front that's green, something like that. Josh Ayers says it has to be fancy. Yeah, it should be. It should stream. It should have. It has to have RGBs. Has to. And you should be able to change the color of the RGBs. I'd be interested to see what because Asus has the NUC, right, which is kind of their. If you looked at the Asus NUC, I think they run about the gaming ones are like $1,700, and those are again small form factor PCs, small form factor gaming PCs. So let me ask everyone in the live chat, like if this hybrid, whatever it is, comes in at $1,200, would that be something you'd be okay with? Could you see yourself spending $1,200 for like a hybrid PC? Yeah, Josh, I would imagine though, like it would be like you would have that compatibility with Lotus says no. It'd probably be compatible with like mouse, keyboard, controller, right? Valdor says I would have Steam OS, not Microsoft OS. Yeah, Valdor, I don't think that's going to happen. I think again they are wedded, and I understand why, to their operating system Windows. Look, all the games run on Windows. It makes sense that this thing is going to be a Windows device, right? Because your library, if you're on PC, and the versions of Xbox games next generation are going to be PC versions. Lotus, I need to check out that Logitech. Oh, you mean a Steam sold one? Okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, and that's the rumor, right? That would be interesting. I posed this question to Logic. I said, is Microsoft's them releasing this Windows hybrid, PC in console form factor and slapping an Xbox logo on it? Is that them trying to beat Steam to the living room? Because that's the rumor that Steam is working on another. I call it a Steam box, but the Steam machine. Steam machines do look pretty cool, though. There was a Alienware one that I thought was really cool. The controller was just terrible, kind of weird looking. I mean, Brian, that's a great point. I mean, the Steam machine would be designed around a popular operating system, right? And extremely popular storefront. Yes, Josh, the controller sucked ass. Yeah, Eric says yes. That's what I believe. That's what I believe Microsoft is trying to do. Beat Steam to the living room. Yeah, maybe. I got to ask everyone again one more time. What do we think about Halo on PlayStation? Let me know what you think in the live chat. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, too. I've actually, Lotus, I've been on the fence with the PlayStation Portal. I think Logic had pitched the idea of me getting a handheld. I think he had said that maybe it might be time for me to maybe take a look at the maybe Steam Deck. Brian, I don't think there's a lot of. Sure, there's sad Xbox fanboys. I think there's also some sad Xbox fans, real Xbox fans like myself and Lemieux and all the guys that I know. I did speak to a couple other guys today that I've known over the last 24 years through Xbox Live, and they're sad too. They can't believe it. A lot of them are like, "Yeah, Xbox is done." When I say Xbox is done, I mean Xbox as we've known it. The console's done. They're out. The new Xbox is that of a platform agnostic third party publisher that will sell you boutique hardware that will be very expensive. And PlayStation now will be home to some of Microsoft's biggest franchises now. And now you look at the PlayStation 5 as a gaming console as like probably the ultimate destination for console gaming now. Marsh says 329 in my local Sam's Club for Series S. Wow. Yeah, I'm still kind of, I don't know, processing this, I guess. I don't have words. It's sad. It feels sad. And a lot of that is just the memories of Halo, and just what the Xbox console meant, and that feeling of exclusivity, of brand differentiation, just like, having brand differentiation. I can't even talk today. Brand differentiation. I still can't say it. Brand differentiation. This is what happens when you speak two languages. That uniqueness that Xbox had is gone now. Microsoft has diluted the brand and what Xbox used to be. That's gone. Yeah, I mean, Valdor said it. BRAP. Like, this is totally agree. Halo with Xbox hardware was tech superiority at the time, and so unique, and that's gone. Josh, so is Blade and Fable on PlayStation? I'll say of course. Yeah, absolutely. Lotus says, actually, the minority bought a Series X for Redfall. It's actually my top 3 games of all time. Wow. Okay. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. I don't. It just doesn't seem right. I have this video up here on the screen, just on replay, on loop, and I just, at the end of the video, I just keep seeing the PlayStation. And by the way, this is on the PlayStation YouTube channel. Like, I wonder what the conversations of PlayStation are like. They're like, oh wow, we have Xbox's most iconic franchise now on our device. It's like we are now the place to play console games, to play console video games. We are the destination now. We have all the games, all the best games, all the iconic franchises. We have them. And I'm going to do a rant about this later on, but I do have some concerns now that Microsoft is bowing out of this space, and it's just PlayStation kind of sitting in that high end console space, where Nintendo's kind of on that lower end. You know, they're kind of both ruling the roost there. Perhaps, do you think it's a marketing deal? I think Sony paid 20-40 million for every ad on this game. You mean, what do you mean, like marketing deal? You mean like in general, like the series? Uh, I mean, they did confirm today that Halo moving forward will be on PlayStation. Like, from that moving forward, every Halo game will be on PlayStation now. Like, I don't even know why. Like, why would someone buy an Xbox now? I mean, I suppose if they, for Game Pass, if they were looking for, if they, valued, some of the Microsoft Studios content or Xbox Studios content, and they didn't, they wanted those, that kind of, they wanted access to those games through a subscription service, and yeah, I could see that. But outside of that, like, why? I don't know. Why would someone want to buy an Xbox now? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, when Gears was announced for PlayStation, it didn't hit as hard, and not that Gears wasn't a great franchise for Xbox. It very much was. And I remember when Gears launched, and we were like, "Oh shit, we got Gears and we got Halo." I mean, that was really our mindset. Yeah, Josh, you're right. After Gears and Forza, right? Just a matter of time before Halo debuted on PlayStation. But it's interesting because, at least for me, like when Halo was announced, or when Gears was announced, Gears Reloaded was announced on PlayStation. I didn't, I was like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. Like there, I didn't feel as connected to that franchise as I do Halo. And so when the Halo like announcement on PlayStation was kind of like a punch in the gut. Josh, Josh, I mean, this is spot on. Halo is the soul of Xbox. And once the soul of Xbox is gone, what do you have left? All of the Xbox tentpole franchises are on PlayStation now. Think about that. Like Josh, like that is like, right? Like, who would have thought at the start of this generation that we'd be having this conversation, or that we could say that? And I got to address this. I've seen some chatter. I was having a conversation with someone on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, you can't say for sure. You can't say for sure. Can't say for sure. Can't say for sure whether or not PlayStation S series titles are not going to come to Xbox. You can't say that." I'm like, no, I can for right now. They've PlayStation leadership has doubled down on that strategy. In their recent fireside chat this past summer, they talked about that. People need to remember PlayStation selling an ecosystem. They make hardware. They want to sell. They are a hardware manufacturer. They want to sell you hardware. And how do you do that? Right? You get people in the ecosystem, right? You keep people in the ecosystem. You want to lock them into that ecosystem so you can squeeze more pennies out of them. How do you do that? One way to do that is through exclusives, through brand differentiation. And people still, I'm amazed by I'm amazed by the fact that there are people out there who don't understand how ecosystems work. Right. And so they're like, oh, well, PlayStation's not going to turn down that money. Well, they will, because that one off. And look, I don't disagree that obviously there's a short term gain, right, for them releasing, let's say, God of War on Xbox. But they don't want the short term; they want the long term gain. And so selling like a God of War on Xbox, right? The next God of War on Xbox is not as valuable to them. It's not as valuable to them because they can't monetize that consumer off that one game sale. They can't. Because once that transaction's happened, that person sits outside the ecosystem. They're not spending any money on this PlayStation digital storefront where Sony gets a 30% cut. They're not buying accessories. They're not buying a portal, right? They're not buying another exclusive where Sony gets a 100% cut if they buy it off the digital storefront. They're not doing that. And then Sony's got to share a cut of that software release to Xbox. So instead of getting 100, they're getting 70, and then they're losing that additional downstream revenue by selling that person additional things inside the ecosystem. Now, of course, someone will bring up Helldivers 2, and it's like, well, yeah, the economics are different with live service games. In that instance, it does make sense. Why? Because you can continue to monetize a consumer outside of the ecosystem because live service games, the economy around those games is built differently. And they incentivize consumers or motivate consumers to spend more money through DLC, through skins. And so you have that reoccurring revenue model built in to a live service game, right? You don't have that with a single player game. And so if you think about that long tail, right? That long-term revenue that they want over that short-term gain, that's how gas makes sense. That's why Helldivers 2 makes sense to go to Xbox. Yeah, Josh, I think especially with somebody had reported, or I thought there was some, I don't know if it was Circana. It was I'd have to go back and look, but like I don't think the PlayStation Portal is a very expensive product for Sony to make, and they make pretty good margins on it. I mean, Josh, that's actually a great point. I mean, Josh brings up a great point. This is part of PlayStation's strategy as it relates to PC, right? And PlayStation's talked about their strategy releasing games on PC. It's additive, right? And also in hopes of getting people to come over and buy a PlayStation console. And so they squeeze every penny out of that game, and then it's profitable, right, on PlayStation, and then they'll release it on PC. So everything after the PC release is pure profit for them, as opposed to releasing day and date, where now it's not pure profit, right? Yeah, Josh says the long term damage is more important to Sony than short term gain. Yeah, absolutely. And think about this too. I mean, like PlayStation counts for a significant chunk of Sony's overall business. I haven't pulled the numbers on it, but at one point it was PlayStation accounted for like a third of Sony's revenue. Like think about that for a second, right? Why would they run the risk of diluting their brand for short term gain? Oh, is it 50% now, Josh? Holy shit! I didn't realize that. I haven't looked at that stat in quite some time, but Josh is saying that 50% of PlayStation of Sony revenue is from PlayStation. All right, Josh, yeah, I probably need to pull the string on this just to confirm the 50%. Josh, it wouldn't, and that's the other thing people don't think about. It going day and date, right? Developing in parallel. It's not free. It's not zero. It would increase the budgets too. War Wanted says, "Let's all race to get the first platinum for Halo." Actually, you know what? That is. I'm glad you brought that up because War Wanted. I was thinking the same thing. I've got a platinum Halo. I almost feel like I have to, right? All right, raise of hands here. Who's gonna buy Halo Campaign Evolved. I don't like the name of I don't like the title, by the way, but whatever. But who's going to buy Halo Campaign Evolved, and then who's going to platinum it on PlayStation? I know I will. I'm definitely getting this day one, and I'm going to platinum it. Warwana says super chat to Web Dave in February, and they laughed at me. I mean, look, it doesn't surprise me that they laughed at you. Brian E says, I'll wait for the review, but short of terrible optimization, I would really like to get it at launch. Where Wanda says, I predict it's called that because the multiplayer will be standalone and have a BR mode, a battle royale mode too. Hero Downer says, I don't do platinums; they happen naturally. Valor says, I'm interested, but if it's as hard as achievement, I was told for some Halo series, I'm out. Mike S says, just 4 games. Says just 4 games. I think that is their biggest lie told so far out of all of them. How anyone could trust a single thing they ever do again is baffling to me. And I have seen some of that that same sentiment on social media today. I think Halo was probably the tipping point for a lot of fans. And I think that based on some of the things that I was reading online, that was a tipping point to, you know what, I don't trust them anymore. Not me personally, but some of the commentary that I'm seeing online from gamers who are in the Xbox ecosystem, have been for a long time, and have hit that point now. We're like, you know what? Yeah, we don't believe you guys anymore. See, Fresh says, why is Phil still blameless? I've seen some of the pundits, Xbox pundits, try to blame Satya and Amy Hood. Look, the Phil's the CEO. The buck stops at him. I think one of the things that was really interesting, Mikey Barra responded to a Twitter post of mine, and he gave some insight into Microsoft. And he said something to the effect that, Amy and Satya are great leaders. They give autonomy to, the different business units inside of Microsoft. So it's like those units are accountable or responsible for meeting certain business objectives. Josh Ayer says, my partner loves Xbox. She said, don't worry about buying another one after today. Oh, wow. It's wild. Halo, end of the Halo video, and the PlayStation play is no limits. I can't. I know I've said this before. It just doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right. Well, all right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show here. It's been about 2 hours. I do want to thank everyone for joining us live for this impromptu BRAP rant. I did try to go live earlier. Didn't have the chance to do that because of some other obligations. But I'm happy that I was able to go live this evening. And really, really, I do appreciate everyone coming by this evening to hang out. Please do me a favor, hit that like button. Appreciate the member gifts as well and the super chats. Let me know in the comment section what you think about today's announcement of Halo coming to the PlayStation. And every Halo moving forward now coming to PlayStation, not just the remake of Halo Combat Evolved, but every Halo moving forward coming to PlayStation. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know if you're somebody who's been on the Xbox platform. Let me know if this changes your perspective on Xbox. Let me know if you see yourself buying the next Xbox, or maybe if you aren't on PlayStation, maybe migrating over to the PlayStation 5 platform. Or if you say the hell with it, I'll be playing this on PC, let me know too. But again, everyone, do that YouTube thing. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. And we will catch you next time. I'm probably going to I might do another BRAP rant this weekend. We'll see. Because there is there's a little bit of potential fallout that I'm concerned with here, or about future fallout. And that is PlayStation kind of sitting in this space by itself now. So we'll talk about that at some point. I don't know if I'll talk about it on Wednesday's show. May do a BRAP rep, or it may be something I do on Wednesday's show, but we'll see. But give me a follow on Twitter or X at BRAP_podcast. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section below about today's news. And on that note, everyone, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have fun playing video games, because ultimately that's what it's all about. We will catch you next time. Thank you again for watching.